We'll start recording. So welcome everyone, whether you're joining live or rewatching this as a recording. So we need a few props today and we'll just need to set ourselves up. We'll do a bit of setting up before we start. So the bed pillow and the blanket, we're going to make our own bolster today. So I've laid my blanket out on my mat and it's about this width. It's about the width of my bed pillow. And then I'm going to lay my pillow on top just at the end and roll. So I'm actually rolling the pillow inside of the blanket and roll it all the way up to make fairly tight bolster, homemade bolster. Not quite as stable and firm. Hi Marion, I can see that you've just joined. Not quite as firm as our bolsters in the centre at the Cancer Society, but if you could just get a real tight roll going, it should hopefully stay fairly supported or supportive for you. So you should end up with something looking similar to this. And I've asked you to gather, I think I asked you to gather a sofa cushion. If I didn't, maybe you can just grab one now. And we'll make a little ramp for the bolster to lie on top of there. So I've popped it sort of in the middle, or I'm trying to take as much surface area of the bolster as possible so that you're avoiding too much collapse here. So it's going to be a fairly yielding support for the spine. And then you may like a cushion or blanket for your head, for extra support there for your head. And then come and bring your pelvis right up to the edge of the bolster. As you lie yourself back, you'll get a sense of whether that's in the right sort of place for your back. And you could have the legs bent or straight, because we're not in a very deep lower back bend here. It will probably feel okay extending the legs away. If it doesn't, then place something underneath your knees or have the feet on the floor. Or you might even choose to shimmy away down a little bit away from the edge of the bolster. So the bolster is supporting more of the lower ribs than the lower back. But just take a moment just to arrive here, to settle here. And if in the settling you decide that actually this support isn't very comfortable, isn't serving you, then please do adjust it, or you could just move it completely and just lie in a normal shavasana or in a constructive rest posture. So I'm just going to give you a moment to make those adjustments and to sense into if there's anything else you need for this posture, or any changes that need making. And as you arrive here, either in this supported reclined posture or in a more sort of neutral shavasana or constructive rest, I'm going to share with you a poem as you arrive into your shape and practice this morning. Today, by Mary Oliver. Today I'm flying low, and I'm not saying a word. I'm letting all the voodoos of ambition sleep. The world goes on as it must. The bees in the garden rumbling a little, the fish sleeping, the gnats getting eaten, and so forth. But I'm taking the day off. Quiet as a feather. Quiet as a feather, I hardly move, though really I'm travelling a terrific distance. Stillness, one of the doors into the temple. So as you arrive in your personal practice this morning, I invite you to take your own weather report as you check in with how you are in this moment, in this morning. I love Mary Oliver's words regarding allowing ambition to sleep, and I think a huge part of this practice we do together is acknowledging, learning, becoming familiar with days when we have more ambition and we can really meet that, or days when actually we really need to just let it sleep, and we really just need to allow our body and our feelings to guide us through our actions and our day. So how is your ambition today? And for now, could we just park it? Park any sense of striving, any sense of goals, any even expectations for our practice today. And I invite you to sense into your overall feeling tone within your body today. As you sense in, could you yield and soften a little more fully? And as you check in, as you feel into your weather today, know that there's nothing final, that this shifting of weather patterns will be happening continually throughout your practice, throughout your day. And really just meeting what is right now. And notice, be curious, where is your attention being drawn to? Bringing an open and receptive attitude to your inquiry. Where is my attention being drawn to? And there is a tendency for the attention to be pulled to irregularities in the body, perhaps places of tension or unease or even pain. And how might it be, whatever you're being drawn to right now, to approach this as information, not good or bad, not right or wrong even, just information. And as we continue to meet ourselves in this moment, acknowledging that there are two aspects of feeling. There is the felt feeling, the sensation that we feel. And then there is the way we feel about that. So the mind's reaction, essentially, to the way that we feel. And that will have its own feeling tone. So in this practice today, together, being aware of that and just being curious as we explore different movements, different postures, this ever-changing, constantly evolving, moving sensations. And then also, how do we feel about that? Is there any resistance to how we're feeling? Is there any aversion? Is there any clinging or holding on to? And now this second aspect of feeling is a lot subtler. So There's no right or wrong. This is just an exploration. So acknowledging your weather report in this moment, the feeling tone within your body. Do you feel heavy and lethargic, tired? Do you feel light, energized? Is there any underlying feelings of restlessness? Could you plant that seed of intention to allow ambition to sleep, even just for this practice, as you welcome what is for you? And if it's comfortable to, resting your hands down by your side, palms facing up, if that feels okay for your shoulders. And just gently starting to extend your fingers away from your palms, stretching out through the palms, the fingers, and then softening the fingers and drawing the fingers in towards the palm to make a very gentle fist. Extending the fingers, expanding the palms, and then softening and relaxing, and then moving into a soft, gentle fist. And it might feel natural to start to breathe with this movement. So as the fingers start to extend away, the inhale, and as the fingers retreat and move inwards, the exhale. Of course, if marrying your breath with your movement doesn't feel serving for you right now, then let that go and just breathe how your body needs to breathe. But if it feels pleasant, inhaling as the fingers extend, exhaling as they retreat. Can you sense into that quality of openness, of receiving as you inhale, yielding, relaxing, releasing as you exhale. Find your own rhythm with this. There's no right or wrong. Bringing your full attention to this movement in your body, this changing feeling in your body as it expands and withdraws. Trying to not do too much, keeping the movement soft and natural. And then letting this go, letting the hands soften into their natural resting place. Softening into some sort of stillness. And then feeling into the weight of your head, where it rests. Just gently swaying the head from side to side, very minutely, just little micro movements of the head. Shifting the weight from the back of the head to slightly side of the middle of the head. And just feeling the shifting weight of your head. You might make the movement a little bigger perhaps, or maybe not. Not trying to reach an end goal, we're just moving, being present with the feeling of that movement. No expectations, just being with feeling of this shifting of weight, changing sensations. It might be that you start to turn the head from side to side, maybe not. And where we're sort of reclined on this support, you might feel more comfortable pivoting the head on its central axis. So it's just sort of the back of the head sliding rather than turning all the way, rather than taking more surface area up as you turn the head. So just moving the head on the spot. You could explore both ways if you'd like. And then coming to neutral. And of course, if any serving anymore, or if the lower back is starting to feel that it needs to change shape, you might have a bigger pillow and be in more of a spinal arch, then do just come off it and come into lying. Just resting here, back into this open and receptive posture. And I invite you now to, you might like to just bring a little bit of heat into the hands, just rubbing the palms together. And then placing the hands on the face, on the forehead or on the cheeks, and just giving your scalp, your head some touch, some sense of touch. And actually, really, I invite you to place your hands wherever you feel needs a little bit of attention or a little bit of feedback to an encouragement to soften and relax. So your hands might be drawn to an area of your body that you felt in your weather reading needed a little bit of release or a little bit of kindness. So it might be the head and the neck and the shoulders. It might be somewhere in the abdomen or the chest. Or you can just work your way down slowly and find your own way of touching. You might use the fingertips to press, bring a little bit of pressure to help encourage softening. You might squeeze and release certain areas. And as you move through this gentle self-massage, how would it be to become completely absorbed in how this feels? How does it feel to be squeezing and releasing this body part, or bringing gentle touch and rubbing or strokes? There might be areas that you didn't even realize were needed some attention. And there might be a subtle awareness of the feeling of this feeling. So a subtle awareness of the reaction of the mind to this little massage. There might be some relief. Might be a sense of there might be a bit of resistance to self-touch, and noticing how that feels. And I'm not going to guide you too much here because I'd really like you to just find your own way. You might lift the arm up and move up and down the arm. You might do that with the arm resting on the body. You might not even come to the arms. There might be another place drawing your attention and touch. When you find an area that really does respond, does really enjoy that touch, however it is, give it some time. And if there's an area that has some stored fear or trauma, wherever that might be, then go very gently here. Go very, very careful. You have a sense of kind hands. You can explore around the region of the chest and the shoulders, front of the shoulders. Maybe the area around the diaphragm that we were exploring last week. The solar plexus, area that can often hold a lot of charge, a lot of tension. Maybe the abdomen. And the lower abdomen, the pelvis. And you probably can't really reach down the legs. You might reach the hips a little, maybe the lower back. And then just finishing this self-massage up in your own time. When you're ready, you might like to just give your face a little rub as if you're just washing your face first thing in the morning. And then releasing the hands wherever they're comfortable and just arriving, just checking back in. Being present with any sense of ease created in the body, even if there is still unease. Any sense of ease in the body. And what does that feel like? Dropping, sinking your attention all the way down through your legs and to your feet. And starting to just flex the toes and point the toes a few times. Feeling into the effect that this movement has on your legs and your ankles. Maybe even feeling an effect in your pelvis. And the flex and point might be very soft, it might not be very strong. I'd really like you to move at your body's pace. So if energy levels are low today, then the movement could be very, very small. Very, very small. And then circling your ankles or articulating your ankles in any way. You can do the same way, same direction with both feet. You could do opposite direction. the effort and the quality that you bring to these movements and practices are dictated and honoured by how you're feeling, how your weather report presented itself today. Do you need more movement in these parts of your body or less movement? And then one last thing in this posture, letting the feet just knock in and out towards one another. Just bringing swinging momentum to the legs, initiated by the feet. So just swinging inwards and outwards to the legs. Just naturally, organically following suit. And when you're ready, just letting that movement go, just arriving back into some sort of stillness. Being here with yourself for a moment. As you check in again after that little floor sequence. There's two aspects of feeling, the feeling itself and then the way that we feel about that. It's such a key part of these practices and inquiries. And on days perhaps when there is unease or pain or fatigue or illness, then how could we use our practice to honor where we are and also sinking into a deeper place of being okay with not being okay? How can we be okay with not being okay? Now, don't worry, don't think about that too much. I'm just putting it out there. You can take it if it resonates with you or leave it at the door if it doesn't. And my next invitation to you is to start to move out of this supported reclined posture and transition into a side lying shape. Now, if side lying on one side or even both sides doesn't feel right for you, then you could do your own inquiry lying on your back and you can adjust the movements to suit you. So I'm going to take this homemade bolster as my pillow. Now, I can't see everyone's props. Sadly, it's not quite as easy as teaching together in person in regards to props. I'm going to use mine as a head pillow because mine's not particularly firm or too high. If when you lie on your side, and I'm going to start on my right side, you can start on your right side if that feels, if that's a side you can lie on. And you'll need a bit of space around your head. Some of you are familiar with this shoulder sequence. And you might like a blanket over the top of you or a blanket between your knees. But if your bolster is much wider, much higher, then you might prefer to use a cushion instead. And I'm going to bring my head right towards the front of my bolster or cushion. Just set yourself up so that the shoulders and hips and feet are fairly in line with one another. Doesn't need to be perfect. And just arrive here on your side. If you're staying on your back, then arrive on your back without the bolster underneath your spine. Allow the ground to receive the side of your rib cage. Notice the side of your waist dropping down towards the floor. How does it feel to lie on your side, as opposed to lying on your back in that more open posture? And if it's comfortable to, resting your left arm or your top arm along your side. You can do this lying on your back as well. Just feeling into the weight of your arm. Feeling into the places that it touches your torso, your pelvis. And you allow your arm to just be as it is without judging it or wishing it was anything other than it is. And starting to move your fingers a bit like a tentacle on a octopus. And that can just graduate into some movement in the wrist. And again, I don't really want to guide this inquiry too much because I'd love you just to find your own way with it. Even imagining that your arm is an octopus's tentacle, and maybe it's unfamiliar, maybe it's just been discovered or it's just grown. How does it feel to just allow the arm to move how it wants to move? There's no ambition, there's no goal, it's just movement and sensation. And be curious, if I move my arm forwards, where do I feel that in my body? And what about backwards? Or up or down? Find your own way with this. And the movement might be very small, very slow. There's absolutely no right or wrong here, just movement and feeling. And at some point, you might like to come into a little sequence for the shoulder and the upper back. And those familiar with it can just find your way with it. Just going to start by sliding the top arm forwards, spreading the shoulder blades in the back, and sliding the left hand up the right arm. I'm just going to work really gradually today, and I invite you to do the same. I invite you to really slow the movement down and just moving and progressing at a very gradual pace so that you can really get a feeling, a sense of where your body is at today, the range of movement that it comfortably has, and these constantly changing messages that you'll be receiving in your own practice. Sinking into the feeling of the movement. Might be that you start to open the leading arm out to the side, or not. You might still be working into the opening. Do please allow your legs to just organically respond. There's no bracing needed. And inviting a really heavy, lazy quality to the movement. if you'd like. It might be that you just do a couple and then you feel the need to be still and just to rest. And do honor that, please. If the movement is triggering something or feeling uncomfortable in any way, then how could you move in a way that doesn't? And even if that means micro movement, tiny movement, then at some stage you could change this flow of movement. Could explore a straight armed variation, lifting the arm up towards the ceiling straight, following the hand with the head if you'd like, and just starting to open it up behind you. Allow the left hip to raise up. And I'd really like you to just take this movement as feels serving and comfortable. You might be receiving messages from the body that it wants to open and expand even more. Or there might be some need to do less. And often we don't know until we get there. Often we really don't know what we need until just the moment before. Finding your own way with this. There's absolutely no end goal here. We're just moving and feeling and sensing. Finding a quality of movement that feels that it will create ease. And then you might like to change into a different range of motion. And one could be a shoulder circle rotation by circling the arm. This might be too much today. It might be too big a movement. I've already done some warming up today. But if you're still in that warming up phase, then you could just take little rotations, little circles. And even that might feel too much today. There might be even smaller circles. So very often, finding more and more with my practice and just in life, that less can be so much more. Less can be so much more. I'm just going to leave you to bring the practice gradually to an end on this side. And that might end with just a curled up side lying moment. Any deep exhales needed in that pause, or any very quiet breathing patterns needed. Love that line of the poem, quiet as a feather, quiet as a feather, as you rest. And when you feel ready, and only when you feel ready to transition, use your transition as part of your practice, staying present as you transition over to your second side. Feet are very cold. I'm going to put my socks back on. And as you set yourself up on your second side, remember this is a different side. It might need different supports. It might be that this second side isn't a comfortable side to lie on, in which case you can find your own inquiry and sequence lying on your back. And giving yourself the chance to arrive in this new shape. Setting yourself up in a way that feels supported. And if it's comfortable too, resting your right arm along your side as you sense into the weight of it. Could you let go of any effort, or as much effort as possible as it rests here? There might be a slight anticipation of movement. Could it just be rest? Could it just be rest? And then naturally, perhaps, if it feels ready to move, there'll be some small, gentle movements. Perhaps that octopus comes back to mind. Really letting go of any imagery, any narrative, and just being present with your chosen movements, chosen not by the mind or by ambition or goals, but by the body. By a deeper part of you that knows what's good for you, moment by moment. And that good for you might just be very, very small movements. And the lovely thing about these inquiries is that you can do them in bed. You can do them in bed in the morning before you get up. Just as a way of becoming physically present. Or as a way to just gently prepare you for movement in the day. And if you'd like to, resting the right hand on the left palm and sliding and gliding. Nice, heavy, lazy quality. And just little gentle micro progressions. Honoring not what you can't do or don't want to do, but honoring what you can do. And if that's very small or very slow, then that's as it is. Knowing that you have complete autonomy over how far you move into this sequence. If there is a tendency, a known tendency to rush, to hurry, then how about for your practice, you really explore how it feels to slow down, to quieten, to truly feel the quality of this movement. Softening moment by moment into your body's ability to choose. And at any time you'd like to shift the range of motion or the type of movement, you could transition into the straight arm variation. You could miss this out and move into the rotation, or you could find your own movement. Moving within a really comfortable range of movement, not going straight for the biggest or the grossest feelings and openings. How do the more subtle feelings feel? I'm teaching this sequence today more as a moving practice than stillness, but of course, if stillness is what you need, or if that's a pause between movements, then that is sticking to our intention of honouring moment to moment needs. And at some point, lastly, if you'd like to, you could explore the circle, the rotation of the right arm. And that could be the arch circle over the head. That's quite a strong and deep movement for the rotation, the ball and socket joint of the shoulder. So it might just be a small movement. If there's any restriction here, then please, well, I mean, we all have restriction here, but if there's any restriction from trauma or injury or surgery, then really do slow the movement right down. Another line from the poem, I hardly move, though really I'm traveling a terrific distance. Just wonderful. I hardly move, though really I'm traveling a terrific distance. So you can slowly bring that movement to stillness again when you're ready, curling up on your side if you'd like, just pausing here. Finding an okayness with this stillness, or an ease with this stillness. And then coming to lie on your back, and I recommend probably taking the bolster from underneath your head. You might like something else instead, like your cushion or a blanket, and just come and lie in a constructive rest position on your back with your feet on the floor, knees bent. If it feels soothing, you could place one hand or both hands somewhere on your body that feels supportive. And just arriving in this more symmetrical physical shape. Checking in with yourself again. And on these check-ins, it's not as if there's something that needs looking for. Can there be an openness and a welcoming to how you're feeling in this moment? And perhaps really acknowledging that there is this constant shifting and changing, this lesson of impermanence, where nothing stays the same, even things that feel solid and constant, subtly they are changing, even if it's beyond our awareness. So as you rest here on your back and allowing for that change, not gripping, resisting, sense of openness to your stillness. And then just because we've been asymmetrical for a little while, I invite you to rest your hands down by your side and draw your feet in a little bit closer. So your heels are underneath your knees. And it's really down to how you're feeling today as to how you approach this moving bridge posture. So starting very slowly by pressing the feet into the floor, flattening your lower back towards the ground, and starting to very gently hover just the sacrum off the floor, and then replacing it back down, releasing the effort through the legs. Try that again if you'd like, pressing down gently through the feet, flattening the lower back towards the floor, and then just floating it off before replacing and furling the pelvis. And that might be enough for you today. You might continue like that, or you might go away from the floor. And there be a quality of lightness through the movement. Quality of floating bones of the spine. And it's really down to you how high you come, how many you do. There's the opportunity here to just move, lift and lower, or you might pause between repetitions. And finishing up when you're ready to finish up, you might be still moving, or you might be resting. If you'd like to, you could draw the knees in towards the body and take the hands over the legs. You might wrap them around. You might just gently place the hands. Or there might be a different movement that you're feeling drawn to doing here. And like you, when you're ready to set yourself up for your final rest. And I suggest coming into a Shavasana. You could use your homemade bolster underneath your knees if you'd like. You could have a cushion underneath your head. And you might like a blanket on top of you. Your space is cooler. In fact, I suggest having something over the top of you, even if it's just a little bit of weight over the abdomen, to give a little bit of a sense of grounding to your Shavasana. And before we completely come into stillness and rest, I'm going to invite you into a bit of an activation and release practice, which of course you can take or leave it. You don't have to do it. You might come into Shavasana and go, that's enough for me today. I just need to be still. And please do that. Good. So once you're all set up in your Shavasana, and do adjust and change shape as you need to, this little activation and release you may or may not want to explore, but the invitation is there if you'd like it. So the invitation is to gently activate certain body parts, contracting the muscles for not long, a couple of seconds, and then releasing the effort completely. So you could start by the feet, engaging the feet and the legs. And I encourage you not to go too strongly, just a gentle activation so you can feel the hardening of the muscles. And then relaxing, softening down. And then the buttocks and the lower belly. Let's actually do that whole area. Buttocks, abdomen, lower back. You might press the lower back into the floor. Tighten the buttocks. And then release, relax, soften. And then the hands, making fists, the arms, the shoulders, the upper chest, the upper back. Activating, hardening. And exhaling, releasing, settling. And lastly, the face, squeezing the face, squeezing the lips, the eyes, the nose, squeezing, gently activating, and then releasing that effort. And just finally, if you'd like to, doing the whole body together. So the feet, the legs, the buttocks, the belly, the hands, the arms, the shoulders, the neck, the face, the lips, gently squeezing, and big sigh, big release. And you might like to take another 2 or 3 sigh-like exhales. maybe out of your mouth. And really letting go of effort here. Really sinking into the support beneath your body. And as your body feels more fully this support, it lets go a little more. It trusts a little more. Settling into this body shape. Relaxing fully into this shape. Settling on the ground with no agenda, no goal, putting ambition to sleep, just for now. Sinking down into your experience here. Sense of sinking your weight downwards like a heavy stone sinking in a pool of water, meeting the ground more fully. And as your body sinks, can your awareness sink into the background of your experience, sinking back and down into that field of awareness where everything arises from and passes back into. So that you come to rest in the backdrop as you allow everything to come and go. A little bit like clouds in the sky. So sinking into that sky-like awareness. And from that backdrop, sensing any sensations in your mouth as you soften your jaw. Sensing your inner ears and any sounds that the ears are receiving. Hearing the sounds arising, passing from that backdrop, from that sky-like quality of awareness. Any sensation within the nostrils. As your breath naturally comes and goes. sensation and breath arising from that sky-like awareness. And eyes giving up the world of looking and seeing and sinking back and down. No need to look for this inquiry. Dropping all sense of sight. And this capacity to feel the skin surrounding your body, and the shape of your body. Noticing parts of the skin that are open to the air around you. Feeling of that touch of air on the skin. And then areas of the skin that are covered. The felt sense of that touch of material against your skin. Relaxing into your skin. Softening around the edges of your body. Feeling the weight of your head, the quality of this weight. Feeling tone. Feeling any sense of tension within the head. And exhaling and relaxing as if you were a tight muscle. Relaxing within the head. Releasing the weight of the head. Felt sense of your shoulders and your arms. Rising from that sky-like backdrop of your awareness. Allowing the arms and the shoulders to emerge into your field of awareness. Letting them rest. Feeling the whole torso. Whole back body. Felt sense of it. The different changing sensations as you glide your attention down the length of your back. And feeling into your pelvis, the bowl of your pelvis. Relaxing the inner contents of the pelvis. Feeling down the length of your legs. The felt quality of weight of your legs as they rest in their shape. And feeling the whole of your body. Feel the whole physical shape of the body. The felt quality of that physical shape. With tender and kind awareness. Feeling into any sense of ease in your body, any sense of relief as you allow yourself to rest. Any qualities of spaciousness, of lightness. Feeling tenderly into ease, broad, open awareness. And now, with great tenderness and care, you may feel okay to open, to include any sense of unease in your body. Very gently, very tenderly, allowing any sense of unease, whether that be tension or pain or unpleasantness. And if at any time this inquiry becomes overwhelming, overbearing, then if possible, return back to a quality of ease in your body, broadening your attention to feel your whole body and its shape resting on the floor. Now, if it's okay to stay with including any feelings of unease, of discomfort, or of tiredness and fatigue, resting here for a moment. Be very gentle with yourself and be very gentle with the feeling. Try to let go of any narrative and just be with the felt quality here. Notice if there is resistance of resting your attention here. And go very slowly. Return back to a broader awareness at any time that feels necessary. And if there is resistance towards whatever is being felt right now, it can be helpful to bring to mind an image of a bale of hay. You're sitting or standing next to the bale of hay. The bale of hay, like your resistance to the feeling. And as you sit or stand next to this bale of hay, you start to very slowly give a little of your weight into the bale. As if you were very gently leaning into the discomfort or unease. And what you might come to notice with the bale of hay is that it's more yielding than you initially thought. That the surface receives your weight more fully. And perhaps sensing the same with any feeling of unease or discomfort. that as you gently ease into it, yield into it, very gently and slowly, that the feeling or the discomfort isn't as solid as you thought it was. Being a soft mind, quality of openness. And of course, at any time, let this go, return back to quality of ease somewhere else in the body. But if it's feeling okay, then you might like to investigate a little more fully. Starting to gently sense the quality of this unease. Does it shift or change? Does it feel heavy? And as you very tenderly lean into it, does that heaviness change? Even if ever so slightly or subtly. What is the felt quality here? Starting to broaden your attention to feel your whole body again. Being present with how you feel as you reflect on having rested with a discomfort or unease. Perhaps there is a feeling of relief having been with your truth, or being very present and supportive to how you're feeling. Perhaps it can be empowering to know that it's possible to be okay with not being okay. Whatever is presenting itself to you here, acknowledging that, being there with it. Inviting any sense of ease back into your body. Feeling into the whole body, any sense of lightness, any sense of support or warmth from the ground beneath you. And inviting some small, gentle movements back into your body, and that might be very minute, just to get a sense of the body moving again. Perhaps taking some conscious breaths. And starting your slow transition out of this resting place. And staying very curious through this transition period, is there a tendency to rush out of your practice? Even though those ambitions and goals are still there, could you allow them to, if not be asleep, then just to be resting in the background, not needing to attend to things straight away? And I will leave you here to transition your way out of your practice. I encourage you to spend a moment sitting. That could be on the floor or on a chair, as a way of moving out of your practice. So as you sit, sink your weight downwards like a sack of rice. And just spending a moment here, staying within that place of rest. Reflecting on those two aspects of feeling, the feeling itself, the heaviness, the lightness, the tiredness, the energy, whatever that feeling might be. And then the other aspect, how we feel about that feeling. And exploring perhaps throughout the rest of your day or week, how it could be to feel okay with not feeling tip top or fully energized. And in times like that, using them as your guide to not overexert. Namaste.